All right, welcome back to the DFS Army, guys. This is a video, the slate breakdown for March 10th. This is about take 6 today. I usually do these in one take, but my phone's been ringing. All sorts of crazy crap's been going on while we've been trying to record this video. So, again, this is amateur hour. You know what you're getting yourself into by now. I am not a professional radio guy or any of that. What I am is a guy who loves coaching, loves contributing, loves helping out the DFS Army in whatever way I can, and really am just looking for guys like you. People who want to get better at the sport they play. They want to maybe give back to the community that they themselves have learned from. That's the type of player that fits in well with the DFS Army. If you're a team first kind of guy, then you want people to grab your bootstraps and bring you up to the next level, whether that's novice, beginner, intermediate, expert, it doesn't matter. If you're that guy, you just want to hit the next level, we're your spot. I wouldn't even consider myself an expert, but we have expert coaches. We have guys making a living at Daily Fantasy Sports that show that to you and give you insight into how they're doing it. If you have aspirations of that, come give it a shot. If you're like me and you're a hobbyist and you just like helping and coaching people and you like learning a bunch of stuff and then kind of puking it out to people when you learn it, then this is still your spot. DFSarmy.com. DFSarmy.com is the place. Follow the link in the bottom of the YouTube description there, and that'll get you in. Become a VIP. It's incredibly affordable for what you get. You get spreadsheets, optimizers, projections, all the statistics that you want, and then you can't put a price on the real life coaching. The real-time coaching in our Slack channel, and of course just the having 50 guys watch a game, watch you sweat a game. I am also Chapadong on Twitter. You can follow me there. So let's jump in, get off the diatribe here. Let's jump into today's slate. We've got 15 minutes to bust this thing up. VIPs, come back, because I'm going to produce a second video for just you that is going to show you how I'm building my lineups right now very specifically. Some of you guys are on a little bit of cold streak. Some of you guys are raging like the machine. And I'm going to show you how I've been very, very consistently scoring between, say, 30, 35 up to about 40 points on Draftkings. For those of you that are tournament players, that doesn't wow you. But for a cash game player, it's printing money. So you need to come back and take a look at that. We can go through those concepts too. 5-game slate today. Buffalo and Columbus. I will tell you, Columbus 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. They've won 2 in a row, back-to-back games. They are a -2. Well, that's up. They were a -220 earlier this morning. So Vegas is going more and more heavily on Columbus. That leads me to the Bob. Lerner's been sucking lately. He's allowed 24 goals in his last 6 starts. He's been getting torn up. We know that Buffalo allows shots. We know that Buffalo allows fantasy points. They score them too sometimes, so you got to watch. There are some cash plays in this one, but you can't do that if you're taking Bobrovsky. As far as Columbus is the 7th most active shooting team right now in the last month, and Buffalo gives up the most shots. It's going to be a lot of activity in this game tonight. If you want to follow Bobrovsky, he has not. This is a weird stat. Very, very. I'm not a politician, but it's very slanted. I'm giving you the information that I want you to hear. Bobrovsky has not allowed a goal yet this month. How about that? He hasn't been scored on yet this month. Come on. If only my little sister was that way. Anyway, jumping over into the next game, Chicago and, I've got them out of order. Chicago and Detroit. This is another interesting one. Corey Crawford would be your secondary choice at goalie. Corey Crawford is fine. He got 4 points, DK points in the loss last night. He allows goals. He's not a shutout candidate like Bobrovsky is, but he's going to generally get you the win. I've never seen a team like Chicago on a year-in, year-out basis flip the switch, and they've flipped it. They just cruise along in the early part of the season. They don't look like much. People kind of go, hey, they are Chicago, but man, they're kind of slumping this year. They get to about February and they go, screw you, it's game time. And the next thing you know, they start climbing the stats. I track season-long stats and I track 4-week stats. And their season-long stats are generally middle of the road, and then all of a sudden their 4-week stats start getting over that. If they're ranked like, say, 15th in season-long stats, they get to like 10th in the 4-week stats. They get to like 8th. They get to whatever. Right now, they are the number 1 shooting team in all of hockey over the last 4 weeks, and they are the number 1 point scorer for fantasy points in the last 4 weeks. They're the best offense in hockey right now. Where'd that come from? Because 2 months ago, they were middle of the road. They've flipped the switch. Defensively, they allow the 15th fewest shots on goal, and they allow the 26th fewest points against. So they've also cranked up their defense. These guys are not effing around, man. They are a beast, and they're to be reckoned with. When they run up against a mediocre team like Detroit, you just look at this consistency in some of these guys. This top line is ridiculous. Kane is ridiculous. If Panarin and Nisimov could get going, it'd be great. Your defensive players like Keith and Seabrook and some of these other guys down here are doing fairly well. Hoss is another one. You could roster any of them in cash. This is a line tonight. You can probably take 2 or 3. I don't typically take more than 2, but you can take 2, 3, maybe even a 4th in cash. I'm not saying they're going to slaughter Detroit. They are on a road back-to-back, but I'm telling you, they're in as good a shot as anybody. Peter Mrazek has given up 3, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3 goals in his last 6 starts. Chicago owns the head-to-head matchup. They're 7-1-2 versus Detroit in their last 10 meetings, and Detroit has lost 4 games in a row. The only guy I'm taking off of here is Zetterberg. I'll typically take him all day long and twice on Sunday, but the bottom line is focus on Chicago. Jump over into the Minnesota and Florida game, which means we got to go back up because I said I got them out of order. This game is weird, really weird. Minnesota's also on a back-to-back. Florida's lost 3 in a row. When you look at Minnesota, they're a relatively high-powered offense. They're typically about 4th in the league in fantasy scoring, but on the season. But right now they're 11th in the last 4 weeks. They've dropped off. They're hitting a cold patch. And that's not good rolling into the playoffs. They might be sphinctering up a little bit, getting the tight cheeks, and trying to overthink things a little bit. I don't know, but I'm not really on them as much until I see them for cash come back around and start scoring some goals. Even facing Florida, who's reeling a little bit themselves, I'm not all that into them. If you look at Reimer's lost his last 5 starts. That's a plus for Minnesota if you're a GPP mind. And Minnesota does have a 7-2-1 head-to-head matchup advantage against Florida. So maybe there's something there. But, if you look over here at Darcy Kemper, dude's got 33 goals given up in his last 10 games. So he's given up an average of 3.5 goals a start. That's not good either. They're, again, one-offs. Take a guy here, maybe get a little bit of exposure to it, but it's not a game I'm expecting to explode. It's not a game I'm expecting to get a lot of fantasy production out of, just by the way the teams have been playing. If I scroll down to our buddies here in Pittsburgh, oh, dude, Pittsburgh typically is in a good spot. They're kind of coming back a little bit. They're starting to score. They're the 6th most active shooting team. They're second to only Chicago in terms of scoring fantasy points, and they're facing a very mediocre Edmonton right now. Cam Talbot is in his last 5 is only 2-3, and he's allowing goals like a Corey Crawford, 2 to 3 a start. They kind of get the win sometimes, but he's allowing goals, which means Pittsburgh's in a good spot. You got a high-powered offense that's going up against a goalie that's allowing some goals, and he might give up a ton tonight. I don't know. I don't expect Pittsburgh to only score 1 or 2. I expect them to score 3 or 4. They might even score 5. They might score 6. Who the hell knows? But what I do know is that Pittsburgh's in a good spot. If I look again at Mr. Murray, the goalie from Pittsburgh, he's 4-1 in his last 5. He's also allowing goals. So it's kind of interesting in there. You're playing more of a shot-based floor for this game. I'm still going with Bobrovsky up top most likely, or possibly Crawford. But if you took a Murray, I wouldn't fault you too much. Pittsburgh has a 7-0-3 head-to-head advantage against these two teams in this spot. So there's another pretty decent one there as well. I'm not as much on to Edmonton as I am on Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh's getting really expensive for cash. Crosby, too expensive. Malkin, getting too expensive, unless you have a ton of money left over and you really put some value in your lineup elsewhere, which we'll show you in that VIP video how to find it if you want to get Malkin in there tonight. Sheary, good spot. Kessel's getting a little pricey. Bonino, Gensel, those two are okay. You scroll down here, Schultz is in a good spot, but he hasn't been producing quite as much lately. He's been a little up and down. He's not exactly cash safe, but he's close. You're going to have to pay attention to us in Slack to figure out how we figure that stuff out, but I'm just telling you who I find is cash safe and who's not. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Anaheim and St. Louis game. These are two teams that specialize in shot suppression, in goal suppression. St. Louis is right now ranked the best in the league at allowing fantasy points, meaning they don't allow much. Anaheim's always up there, although they've been slumping a little bit lately. I would say with Enroth, the backup, and Jake Allen, don't mess with him. I mean, you could take him in a GPP. He's a shutout candidate for sure. There are better options on the slate tonight, but he's not a bad one. But I'm not really psyched up about St. Louis's skating ability to get him the win. If they fall down a goal or two, St. Louis might give up, And then while Allen only gives up 1 goal or maybe 2, he might do what Corey Crawford did last night and lose the damn game for you. So I'm not really sure how he's going to work out in that regard. I do know that Enroth has lost. I want to say he's lost his last 5. He's allowed 18 goals or something crazy. I think he's lost his starts. This is just like throwing wood into a chipper. If you look at Enroth, 3, 4, 3, 5, 3, that's his goals allowed in the last 5 starts. Again, St. Louis should score some goals here, but St. Louis isn't scoring goals. If I wanted a really interesting GPP pick, I'd focus on Tarasenko. Stastny, Schwartz has kind of picked it up, made a beautiful pass to Tarasenko last time out. Tarasenko can put up a hat trick in any given night. He just doesn't have the support around him, but being that they're facing a backup goalie that's allowing goals, this might be a night for him. Berglund's been a consistent guy. He's a borderline cash safe play tonight. Your PRVs are cheap. Some of these guys are I don't trust them at all, but if you're looking for cheap punts and GPPs and stuff, you might take one, you might get a goal. Petrangelo's a borderline cash safe guy as well. So there's a brief rundown of this slate, kind of what to do, how to do it. If I'm looking at Buffalo, I'm looking at the defenseman McCabe. I'm looking at O'Reilly, Ristolainen, Eichel, Kane, guys like that. In Columbus, Boone Jenner, Savard for defense. Those guys are kind of in the running for cash plays. Chicago, Schmaltz, Seabrook, Panic, Taves, Kane. You can run all of those guys. In Pittsburgh, Bonino, Gensel, Schultz, Sheary. You really need the value to get up to Malkin, and I'd take him over Crosby. Crosby's just not performing the past couple of weeks for his price. He's still a stud, but for his price. He's a great GPP play because a lot of people will be off of him based on, by the way, go to DFSArmy.com. There's a strategy under the general strategy tab. There's an article on going contrarian you might want to check out. It's something that I put up last night, or I'm putting up today. St. Louis, Berglund, Pietrangelo, and Detroit, Zetterberg. Those are the names that I would focus on if I was you. Let's come back a little bit later for the VIPs. I'll show you how to put together a lineup from the bottom up, more of a value-based construction style, and that's going to get you rolling in where at the end of the day you're not trying to cram in this $3,500 punt going, oh crap, which piece of shit do I choose? You're actually the other way around. You've got all of your value locked in and you're starting to spend up as you go. And when you get up into these guys, you have enough money left over where you're choosing between, do I take Malkin or Kane? Do I take Malkin or McDavid? Do I take somebody like a Sidney Crosby? I've got the money left over for all of these guys. So it's a much more entertaining way to play this game. If I've got Eichel and I'm like, do I stack him with Evander Kane, or do I take Eichel with the $2,000 I have left over and go all the way up to, Malkin and stack him with Bonino or something? I mean, these are the types of decisions that you wind up making. So come back, check out our VIP video. If you're not a VIP, go to the description, the link in the description at the bottom of the tab, dfsarmy.com. I'm Chapadong. Follow me on Twitter. I can get you any information in a direct message that you need to make a good value-based decision for yourself and become part of one of the fastest growing communities in DFS on the internet. You see us on Twitter. You see our Army hats on the leaderboards, dfsarmy.com. Later, guys.